The following is an encore presentation of Detox to Lose Weight with JJ Virgin.
Welcome to the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show with celebrity nutrition expert, fitness Hall of Famer, and four-time New York Times bestselling author, JJ Virgin. JJ is a warrior mom whose knowledge and expertise have helped change hundreds of thousands of lives with over 3.5 million podcast downloads and appearances on Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, The Today Show, Rachel Ray, Larry King Live.
Whoa. This show is about you, not about me. I want to help you find practical, real-world ways to dial in your health and mindset so you can finally lose that weight and feel strong and energized. Stop settling for less than your personal best. It's time to find out how to look and feel better than ever. And I'll be right here with you the whole way. Hey, welcome to the podcast. I am super excited about this episode today. It will be with just me and you. We will be discussing today the one thing that you have to do before you start losing weight. This all came to light way back when, and if you've been around my community, you know I'm known for saying that your body's not a bank account, it's a chemistry lab. And it was really me going through, all right, what is going on with that chemistry lab and what can impact it? So today we're going to be talking about toxicity, and specifically these little buggers called Obesogens. And they are the toxins that can get in the way of you losing weight. They are the reason that so many of the biggest loser contestants, years later, when they looked at them, they'd gained the weight back and their metabolic rate had not recovered. So we're going to be going through that, how you can make sure you avoid that, because I would say not on my watch, my friend. We're not going to let that happen to you. So we'll be diving into that. But before we dive into that, I want to dive into an awesome little testimonial endorsement from Elise234 from Australia. And every podcast, I do a shout out to someone who has left a review. And I just want to do this shout out to Elise. Thank you so much. She says, thank you, heart, 5-star review. This podcast has been so informative and extremely helpful. This has helped me with my autoimmune problems and giving me direction on how I can actually fix this instead of topical treatments that no longer serve me. I no longer feel helpless with my psoriasis and possibly lupus. As a hairdresser who has clients with psoriasis, also, I will be sure to lead them down this path of taking their health into their own hands by starting with this podcast to empower them. JJ Virgin, thank you. All right, that is so awesome. I love that, because really the underlining theme of everything that I do is that we are all our personal health detectives, and we have to take our health into our own hands. So my goal is to bring the most awesome experts to you and then help put that into simple, actionable steps, because it's great to learn things, but it really only matters if you apply them. So making it super, super simple to apply. All righty, welcome back. So this is what you must do before you start losing weight. When I say weight, really, what I really mean here is not weight, it's fat. And I just want to give you a place to grab what's going to be super important for you, which is my Toxicity Quotient Quiz. You can get that at jjvirgin.com/TQ, just the letters TQ. And of course, you'll get all the show notes as well, because I'm going to refer to a couple other cool things. So you want to grab that. But I want to give you this concept to start thinking about. And I remember hearing it first from my buddy, Dr. Diana Schwartzbein, years ago. And she says, you don't lose weight to get healthy. You get healthy to lose weight. And I was like scratching my head on that. And I go, that's a tough sell. Because we talk about just the opposite. But when you really start to look at toxins, you'll start to get this. And here's a story that I think that is really interesting to support it. And then I'm going to go back up and kind of walk you through this whole thing and give you some stuff to do. Okay? So there was a recent study that showed that the participants from the Biggest Loser competition who achieved massive weight loss, like 120 pounds plus at the end of the competition, it was associated with a decrease in resting metabolic rate of 600 calories or more a day. Now, after a 6-year follow-up, most of the weight loss was regained by the participants. Over about 85 pounds or more. And their resting metabolic rate, now this is where things get really dicey, was 700 calories a day below their baseline. Now, first, first I was like, well, of course the metabolism slowed down. They had a lot less weight. But the challenge was when they put the weight back on, their metabolism was even slower. So what the heck is going on? And how can we avoid this happening to you? Because I want to make sure that nothing like this ever happens to you on my watch. So we store toxins in our fat cells. They love fat. They're attracted to it. And when you're getting in toxins, and unless I don't even know where you could live anymore in the world where you're not going to be subjected to toxins, you can go to the most pristine areas. And because of the air flowing, the water flowing, we've got toxins everywhere. I know right now my mom is in Northern California and the fires have hit, and that is miles and miles and miles away, and it's absolutely the worst air quality that they've ever had in the San Francisco Bay Area from the fires that are out more north than Sacramento. So remember, these things can happen because these toxins travel. Now, beyond just that, think about all of the different places in everyday life that we are being subjected to toxins, even when trying to do everything right. I mean, I know if you're listening to the show, you're trying to make those organic choices whenever possible, both in your food and what you drink and your skin and beauty care and all of that. But then you stay at a hotel, you ride on an airplane, you go to a meeting, and you've got outgassing of carpets and walls. You've got the air quality. You've got water you drink. You've got water you wash your hands in a bathroom, and your skin is a sip. So not trying to scare you here. I'm just trying to press upon you that even if you're doing everything you possibly can to reduce your toxic exposure, you are still getting bombarded with toxins, and bombarded with toxins that our bodies were never designed to deal with. And that's the bigger challenge. Is it's both the crazy amount of toxins that we're being bombarded with, and also the types that our bodies were never designed to deal with. And so ideally, if everything was working to plan, we would have a variety of things we're doing every single day to detox. And again, that's what the toxicity quotient is going to check, is where are you getting exposure and what are you doing every day to detox it? So ideally, you've reduced exposure as much as possible, and you are doing things every day to get that out. But if there's more coming in than you can get out, you know what's happening. You've got to store them. They got to go somewhere. And so your body, in an effort to protect you from this stuff, stores these things in your fat so that they aren't wreaking havoc. They store them away in your fat. All right, so now you should be thinking, all right, well, if I start to lose fat, what happens? And that's exactly what happens here, is you've got these, what they call now obesogens, these toxins that are stored in your fat. And as you lose weight, the amount of these that then start to circulate in your bloodstream goes up. And this has been measured. So the more weight you lose, the more these go up in your bloodstream. And when they're freed up, they make a lot they create a lot of problems in your body, especially in your metabolism. So let's talk about some of the things that these things can do. Now, again, what I'm going to share with you, and I really want to make sure you do the Toxicity Quotient quiz, jjvirgin.com/TQ, is I'm not going to leave you hanging here. There are things that you can do. Knowledge is power. First, we need to know that there is a problem here. And this was one of the ones when I started to really look at what could get in the way of you losing weight or cause you to gain weight. It was like when you start to look at all the things that can make you have problems with weight, toxicity can really be at the core of so many of those things. So there was this study done by N. Haynes looked at diabetes. And this is really fascinating because we always thought that people became diabetic due to being over fat. And what we found was people became diabetic because the fat cells had toxins, and that was what was creating the insulin problem. So one of the things we know about these compounds is that they can impair your insulin metabolism. They can make you insulin resistant. Of course, that's the pathway through to diabetes, and a lot of cardiovascular risk. So that's one of the things that they do. And you know that if you're insulin resistant, your body isn't able to burn off fat. You can't get sugar into the cells and you can't burn off fat. So now you're hungry and eating more and not burning fat. Very bad combination there. Next thing, and we've been talking a lot on this podcast about gut microbiome and the fact that changes to your gut microbiome can make you better at storing calories. They can impact your mood, your immune system. And what we now know is that these toxins, these obesogens, can change your gut microbiome again to make it more glucose intolerant, to make you better at storing fat, worse at burning it off. So that's the second thing. The next thing, and this is one of the first ones I started to look at. There was a Dr. Angelo Tremblay out of Montreal who was looking at the fact that people who had higher toxic burdens had lower metabolic rates. And he surmised that it was because your body was trying to protect you from releasing these fats or the toxins into your body. One of the ways this happens is because this toxic load that gets into your bloodstream will lower active thyroid, which lowers metabolism, which then makes you hold on back, store that fat back and hold on to it. And again, what I just showed you from the Biggest Loser study is that, and this is just crazy to me, that years later, even though they gained the weight back, their metabolism stayed slow. And it made me think of a woman that I had as one of my very first clients back when I was a personal trainer 30 years ago, Vicky. And Vicky, gosh, I remember this so well. She barely ate. She would do these tightly calorie controlled diets. Now, she ate the worst diet food garbage ever. And it was what really started to spark me into looking into this area. Because at the time, my whole world was exercise. I was getting my master's in biomechanics, going on to my PhD in exercise phys, obsessed with exercise, and really not that. I mean, I thought I knew how to eat healthy, but I really didn't. And she ate so many little diet products, with artificial sweeteners, diet sodas, all this diet stuff, and tightly controlled her calories. If I ate, I would eat in one meal what she would eat for a day, and she could not lose weight at all. She exercised every single day. It was crazy. Now I see what she'd done to really damage her metabolism. And back then I was like, they kept saying, oh no, when you diet and gain weight and diet and gain weight, you don't change your metabolic rate. And I'm like, I sure see people with this. So it's, that's why it's been so interesting to go through this journey, kind of the reverse, because usually you go to school and you read the studies and then you go apply it. What happened was I was working in the world and a lot of these studies hadn't even been done yet, but I was seeing that, wow, yes, when you gain and lose weight and gain and lose weight and gain and lose weight, you change your metabolic rate. It damages it. Now, that doesn't mean we can't fix it, because now we know that there's where the problem is. Is it with your thyroid? And if it's with your thyroid, let's get your thyroid repaired. Let's get more muscle mass on you so we can fix that metabolic rate. But just understand now that this is one of the things that can happen when you have a toxic burden, okay? When you have these obesogens out wreaking havoc. Next one is it can affect your hunger hormones. So it can actually make you hungrier. This can make you hungrier and also make it harder for you to be satisfied. So it increases appetite and decreases satiety. It also increases inflammation. And what's interesting about inflammation is besides making you feel crappy, inflammation and creating big risk for, cardiovascular disease, inflammation also is its own risk factor for obesity. And I remember reading the study that showed that people who had more inflammation then tend to gain more fat. Then when they gain more fat, they have more inflammation, because when someone's got more body fat, they're going to have higher inflammation. The two go together, but they were like, well, which came first? Now you're wondering, well, was it the obesogens, was it the toxins that created the inflammation that made it harder for you to lose weight, right? So we're not quite sure where this came from, but understand that inflammation here can be a byproduct of this toxic burden. And then also it impairs mitochondrial function. So that can lead to insulin resistance and inflammation. But big one there is fatigue. Because remember, mitochondria are where we produce our energy. If those don't work well, it's like you've got your engine of your car isn't working well. It's like all your little engines all throughout your body, they are not working well. So what does this mean for us? And I didn't want to paint this whole doom and gloom story and say, hey, that's it. We're, bummer for us. Nope, that's not the case at all. What it really means is that we've got to make sure that as we're losing fat, we're doing it thoughtfully and we're supporting our detoxification pathways. So again, jjvirgin.com/TQ. Get the show notes, because what I'm going to have you do in there is take an assessment. And the first part is to find out, where are you getting all this exposure? Obviously, you want to minimize exposure where you possibly can. Anywhere you possibly can minimize exposure, cut it. No need to put more in your body. But I also know that you can't cut it all. And so then what are all the activities that you can do on an ongoing basis for detoxification? Now, here's my belief, is that before any weight loss program where you're going in to lose fat, you should have a detox program in front of it. So you start to get these processes into your everyday life. And when you do a detox program, and I have my green smoothie cleanse, what I've really set that up to do is to use as a reboot, to start before a program, but also to help you then take some of those habits that we put into that program and pull them into your everyday life. Because the biggest thing I'm going to tell you about detoxing is I love to do focused cleanses to make you really pay attention to what you do, get these habits in place. But you're then going to want to bring some of these things forward, because you're never going to be not hit with toxins. It's not going to happen. You're going to have these things going on, coming into your body on a regular basis through things you touch, through things you eat and drink, through things you breathe. There's just no way around it. So we've got to make sure that while we're minimizing that contact, we are also maximizing the excretion and really supporting your body, because detoxification takes a lot of nutrients to do. So I'm going to share with you some of the different things that you can do to help with detoxifying daily. I'm also going to give a shout out to my green smoothie cleanse, because I actually put this all into a week-long program that will just give you the things that you can do and make it super duper simple. I want things to be easy. Naturally, I know we all want unlimited health, right? We all do. So we got to do the things that make it super easy to put these things in your daily life. Now, one of the first ones, I love a lot of these because they're free and simple. And one of the big ones is we're going to sweat, we're going to pee, and we're going to poop. And these are the ways that we can get rid of a lot of the toxins: sweat, pee, poop. So water is one of the key things you're going to want to make sure you're doing, is drinking lots of pure spring water. And I would tell you to start doing that first thing in the morning before you eat. Stop about 30 minutes before your meal. Start again 30 to 60 minutes after your meal. But lots of pure spring water to aid with detoxification. And along with that, to help really get things out, you want to make sure that you're doing fiber. Now, it's not just one type of fiber. I have a product called Extra Fiber that's got 12 different types of fiber, both soluble and insoluble, because they do different things. You want to make sure that you're upping your fiber. I'm going to go bold and say I'd love to see you at 50 grams or more a day. Now, 35 grams to me is kind of the least amount. And you want to have both soluble and insoluble. Soluble is like a sponge. It's going to help soak up those toxins. Super important. And insoluble is going to help move them through. So you need to have both of these things to keep things going and to help with detoxification. And fiber is super duper important. And as you know, fiber is not just helpful for detoxification, it helps you feel fuller longer. It's great for weight loss, and it feeds the good bacteria in your gut. So it's just super important overall. Now, another one, all throughout my programs, I have you eat by the Virgin Diet Plate, the Sugar Impact Diet Plate, and you'll always find them saying lots of non-starchy vegetables, eat from the rainbow, and especially those deep green leafies, because they've got compounds in them that help detoxify So a lot of great detoxifying compounds in your deep green leafies. But I also say eat from the rainbow because they're antioxidant rich, which is really important when you're detoxifying. You need more antioxidants. And then also look at some of the sulfur containing vegetables. Those would be onions and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. I actually eat at least one of those every single day. I'm a big fan of cauliflower rice. Oh my gosh. And broccoli. And then I love doing shredded Brussels sprouts. Super yum. So, and then you can obviously slice up onions and throw them into anything that you're eating. So big thing there. Make sure you're getting in your deep green leafies, your rainbow of vegetables for the antioxidants, and then the sulfur-rich vegetables. Now, one of the big things with detox, and it's one that makes me, can I rant a little bit? Because these ones on my own, I'm supposed to be allowed to rant after all this, my show. So one of the things that makes me a little nuts is these juice cleanses. It doesn't make me a little nuts. It makes me absolutely crazy nuts because they do more harm than good. And here's why. First of all, when you're doing juice, even if it's a green juice, if it's just a straight green juice and that's it, it will raise your blood sugar. Okay. And that's what we want. We want to put protein, fat, and fiber together to avoid that. So if you're just doing a straight green drink, and I mean not any apple, not any fruit, then at least add some chia seeds in there to balance it out with a little protein, fat, and fiber. All right. So that's the first thing. If you can add pull back to the green juice, all the better. So that's what I want you to think of there. But if you're doing these juice cleanses, you're getting a big hit to your blood sugar. But the bigger thing is you're not getting the fiber in you need, and you're not getting the protein in you need. And that is important because amino acids, so detoxification is a nutrient dense process. And the first you start to free these toxins up, that's where the greens, the bright vegetables really help with liberating these toxins that we talked about. Let's get them out of the fat. Let's get them out of the organs. Let's get them out so that we can now get them into the bloodstream and get them out. Now, to get them out of the body, amino acids are needed. That's where protein becomes super important. So it's not just enough to eat your protein, though. If you're over the age of 30, 35, and you've been under any kind of stress, you also need to focus on making sure that you're digesting your protein well. So I highly recommend taking some protein digestive enzymes. We'll put a link in the show notes to my metabolic digestive balance that not only helps you digest your protein, but also will block your carbs a little bit so you'll have a better stable blood sugar. But you want to make sure you're digesting your protein. All right, a couple other things to think about, because I know I gave you some good things you can get started on right away. And that's my biggest thing I want to hear from you is I want to make sure that you're going to take at least one of these things to heart. So if you're already drinking a lot of water, awesome. Make sure you're getting your greens in. If you're getting your greens in, maybe it's time to start taking some digestive enzymes to help with protein digestion. Next one, and I always have, with my digestive enzymes, I don't have ones that break down carbs. We're already really good at that. You break down your carbs better, you'll have a higher blood sugar response. Not something we're going for. Next, you got to sweat. And how should you sweat? Well, we'll put a link in for my buddies at Sunlight and Sauna. I love that. That's what I have, and I do a couple times a week. I have an infrared sauna, far, near, and medium, because it actually can get the toxins out of your fat. The other things that you can do, exercise obviously is a great one, right? So do some exercise, and if you can get a sauna, all the better. And then dry brushing. And this is something awesome that you can do when you're getting into the shower. You use a dry brush and you use it so that you are brushing up towards your heart. And people go, what's a dry brush? It's just a brush that's dry. It's a skin brush. And it helps you exfoliate, but it also helps with circulation. And that is super important. That's why massage, and especially lymphatic massage and rebounding, can be so good, doing the little rebounder tramp, because it all helps with circulation. And that's, of course, another bonus point with exercise as well. Now, next thing, getting in the bath with Epsom salts. This is another thing I do every single day when I'm not traveling. I haven't figured out how to drag Epsom salts with me when I travel. I'd go a little overweight. But At home, I have big bulk bags of Epsom salts, and every single night I do an Epsom salts bath soak. So that is also another great one, gets you a lot of magnesium and helps pull out the toxins. So those are some of the simple things that you can do to get started. Of course, we've got more in our green smoothie cleanse, but I wanted to not overwhelm you. I want you to listen, take what you heard today. Make sure you take the TQ, jjvirgin.com/TQ, to see if there's other places you can minimize exposure and then what you can do on a regular basis to really maximize excretion. And my big thing here is these should all become habits. So whatever ones you're not doing, pick one and start to journal about that. Make sure you get that one in place. Once that one's dialed, add the next one. And if you'd like to do a real focus cleanse to get these things in place, then again, Green Smoothie Cleanse, our detox reboot, is set up for you. All righty. Now, after the break, I'll be answering a listener's question, so stay with me. Welcome back. This is the time where I answer a listener's question. And I just want to remind you, if you've not been hanging out with me over on Facebook and Instagram when I do my lives, come on over. jj.virgin at Instagram and jjvirgin official Facebook. And so I love to talk about why you should never do juice cleanses. You've probably heard me rant about it other places in this podcast. So on a recent rant, I got asked by Marcy, JJ, how often should I do a cleanse? All right. So here's the thing. In my perfect world, in the world of JJ, we would be doing a focused cleanse every quarter. And so what I've created with the Green Smoothie Cleanse is something that you can have at home, you can have in your hip pocket, and when you're ready for that focused cleanse, you can do it. I've also set it up so that we'll do it as a group a couple times a year, but that's what I would tell you to do is do a focused cleanse each quarter. Grab a friend, join a group, because what it's going to take you is health is a journey. It's a process, right? And I look at it as peeling the onion. We're never perfect. We're never done, and we're always changing. What worked for you in your 20s and 30s isn't going to work for you in your 40s, 50s, 60s. So we're always in a process of like adding in good new health habits. And that's where a focus cleanse can be great, because it's time where you're just focusing on very specific habits and cutting out a lot of the noise and clutter. This is your time, you're focusing. And when you're through that, probably lose a little bit of weight too, and feel a little more energetic. After that first week, more energy, more focus, little weight off. And then what you want to go is, all right, what am I going to carry forward from this that worked really well in my life, that fit in really well? Maybe I've gotten to a better habit with drinking more water. I've added in that Epsom salts bath at night. I've gotten better about burst training in the mornings. Whatever those things are that you're going to carry forward with you, you keep them in. Right? And then if you find maybe you got off track, sometimes it happens to the nicest people, then you can either do it then, use it as a kind of a reset, a reboot, or you can even pull out 3 days of it. And you can pull out 3 days and do a 3-day little focus cleanse to get you back on track. So that is how I like to use cleanses. Now, I really like to call a cleanse kind of different than a detox, because in more of the functional medicine space, to me, I look at cleansing as something we need to start to get these habits into our daily life to help us detoxify daily. But if you have more going on, and I've had to do this myself, and I also had to do this with my son Grant because he got very toxic with some heavy metal toxicity, then you may have to go work with a functional medicine doctor, do some advanced lab testing, and do some things that help pull out or chelate these heavy metals. For me, I had to do some IV chelation, and that's when I started my infrared sauna. So if you've got more things like that going on, you may need some extra help. So that's the other part of it, is you go through the cleanse, you see how you feel, you see how much things have resolved, you bring habits forward into your everyday life that are doable, and then you go, all right, now, what's the next outcome that I need to work on? And if you're finding that maybe you are still battling some insulin resistance or some thyroid issues, then it may be time to go to the next level and do some advanced testing. And again, I look at these as all tools in your toolkit that you have, because you are your own personal health detective. You take your health into your own hands, and then you help guide the process by then finding which therapeutic diets, which experts, etc., you need to work with. And that is why I try to bring on as many amazing humans onto this show, all my expert friends, so that if you're looking for something, you've got the answers. Alrighty, I want to remind you, if you have not subscribed yet, hit the button. And while you're there, leave a review so I can give you a shout out. And I will see you on the next show. Bye.
That's all for this episode of the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show, which marks another step towards a healthier body and mind. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and we'll talk to you next week.